What's going, guys? Over here. Welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode number 21, and we're finally back with our old three pairing: myself, Arav, Callum, and Tom. It's been a while since Callum's been on the podcast. He's been on holiday, as you can clearly tell by his more orange skin. But
I haven't had a fake tan. No, don't start thinking them things.
But yeah, we're back for the podcast. We're recording this on a Thursday, I should say. So disclaimer: if any news comes out, it probably will, because that's what always happens on this podcast. There probably will be like some huge news that breaks out on Friday or Saturday, but we're recording this on a Thursday and it's going to go out on a Sunday, so we probably will miss some news on Friday and Saturday. If we do, that's why. Anyway, let's get on to this podcast, which is basically going to be almost like a preview of the Hungarian Grand Prix and just talking a little bit about maybe the testing they did at Silverstone this week. Obviously, we had just the normal testing for the teams, but also Pirelli tested out on a 2014 Mercedes car. So any sort of thoughts? I know Tom was wanting to talk about Ferrari in general, and also I think Gasly said something about the Halo, which we haven't talked about in a while, actually, the whole Halo thing.
We started off the podcast non-stop talking about the Halo, so we can maybe return.
Then we gave it a break.
Yeah.
So, Gasly, what was it? Tom, I think you were the one who read it. Like, Gasly said he didn't like it very much.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, we haven't spoken about the Halo situation, but Red Bull did test the aero screen, and it's basically not ready. So that option has been ruled out, so therefore the Halo is pretty much the only solution for 2017 if the rule gets approved.
Yeah.
And obviously we saw Vettel test in Friday practice, and basically the difference is this is called or labelled the Halo 2 because the difference is the middle pylon in the centre is much narrower higher up, and then right at the last second it sort of like basically spreads out to the top element. Yeah. So it's a much more longer and narrow pylon to try and avoid vision. Now, what struck me was how in Catalonia pre-season when he tested it, he said the visibility was fine, and I think Raikkonen said it was okay as well. Yet this updated one, which has less centre pylon, he said the visibility wasn't great.
Yeah.
And
how come all of a sudden now?
Yeah, and then Pierre Gasly tested it in the post-Silverstone tests, and he tweeted out this morning saying he was not a fan of it, and he just didn't like it, and the visibility wasn't great. So, basically there's been some speculation going around, and apparently Red Bull are going to be the first team to propose to go against the Halo introduction for next season.
Yeah.
So,
well, that'll be backed mostly by the drivers, I think, and the fans, because obviously the FIA will just sit there and go, no, but it's for safety, so there's just no arguing against it. But it still doesn't look overly safe in my eyes. But also, that still gets me, the fact that Vettel and Raikkonen both said it was fine at the start of the season.
And now
it's not. And this is supposed to be the improved one. Obviously, the second one, it should have some sort of improvement. So, is the drivers changed their mind? Have they had a talk about it? Have they had a think about it? It's a lot of question marks because you'd think they'd get used to it. It doesn't, obviously, having a slap in a pylon right in front of them isn't best for visibility full stop. But they can only ever help that. But that's a lot of question marks that they've now decided against it, which might be, obviously they might have some sort of decision among the drivers, maybe to think, is there any other solution, like just from the driver's perspective of if they can see out the cockpit fully, and what's the best for them.
Yeah, that's a bit weird. Bit of a change of agenda. Maybe earlier on in the season, Ferrari had more of a say in what they could say, like in the post interviews or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, but that is very odd.
It's very strange though that,
especially like you said, because it's improved.
Yeah,
like Tom said, it's thinned up at the top, so surely they would be saying it's better than what it was before. But they said it's like not that great. So
it is looking like even if Red Bull alone say they don't want it for next year, that automatically means it will have to be delayed because it has to be a unanimous agreement. I believe.
Right, okay, yeah.
You know the whole strategy group where I think the teams get 6 votes. Bernie and all get that one. I don't know how it's structured, but essentially that one, the 6-vote system. And as long as one of the parties don't agree, then it could be scrapped. And to be honest with you, Bianchi's crash was a freak accident. That's never happened before. Second of all, Massa's crash in 2009 could still happen.
With that Halo could still happen.
That little silly part in the middle does nothing except for possible support. It's not going to block anything, so you're still just as open to being
that way. The aero screen was a lot better for what they wanted to try and do.
We discussed this, didn't we? We said that just generally the aero screen would have been the better option because it protects from debris.
I mean,
we saw obviously when Hülkenberg had his front wing explode at Hungary last year, like the driver behind got absolutely showered in debris. We've had it before when I think when the tyres were blowing up in 2013 at Silverstone, people got showered, and it's not.
But has there ever been any
seem helpful.
bad thing from it? I don't think anyone's ever like passed out from a piece of debris or tyre.
No,
nothing's
rubber
ever
or
happened. Not normally.
I've never
but, you know,
a tyre has never hit an F1 driver on the head before. Like I said, who was it? Was it? I don't remember his first name, but Surtees, the one in I think British Formula 3 who got hit with a tyre above his head.
Yes, something like that. Yeah.
That's never happened. It's just a freak accident.
And
Like
they're always improving tethers as well. Like we've seen tethers fail, but
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
but now
think
they're pretty strong. Like
a lot. I
now
think
it's
the
very
last.
rare
I don't know. I think the
wheels
last crash I
actually-
remember a tyre fully coming off was Kvyat's crash in Q3 at Suzuka. You know when he had that freak accident
last
going into
year.
the and I think there was so much energy going into that tyre barrier
because
that
it was
the
such
tether
a-
just
It
failed.
was down towards the hairpin. He was going
Yeah.
flat out into the corner.
Obviously,
so
he
it
lost
was
the
so
rear
much-
end onto the grass, straight flipping and everything.
Yeah.
But the tethers are always going to improve anyway. I think they're always trying to make them stronger. But before we get into any sort of previous debates, it's probably looked like it's still going to happen. It still looks as ugly as ever. Even I don't think there's any way to make it look
I
good
don't. Yeah, no. There's no.
at all.
I don't think it's going to happen next season. I can't see it now because
Well, if you're saying
just
Red Bull
starting...
going to veto it, then
Exactly.
Then it definitely won't
No,
happen.
but you're just starting to see some drivers sort of like question if it's necessary, and you know, at the end of the day,
I think
there
we're all
are
sort of
those
questioning, like,
drivers-
the more you look at the Halo, like picture after picture, it doesn't. It's not like other things in the world where you keep looking at it and it gets better. You keep looking at the Halo thing, you just keep on saying it just looks worse and worse every time. Like
I think it's when you see it on board with the T-cam. That's when it
even
makes
worse.
It
Like
looks
it
most
looks
ridiculous.
It looks like the top of like a dishwasher from like the T-cam. It looked really, really stupid.
It does
And
look
even
like
that-
crap.
even the aero screen, even though that looks better, when you see the pictures, I didn't really like that either. It looks strange.
Well, from the top, from the T-cam, yeah, it looks stupid. From the side on, it actually looks okay. It blends in with the look of the car.
Literally,
but-
yeah. If we're talking specifically sideways, even the Halo looks not
Okay.
too bad. But what I'm saying is like, I just don't think it's necessary. I
away
genuinely
from-
don't see the point.
Away from like aesthetics aside, like safety's always a weird line in F1 because you sort of you don't want to overdo it, but at the same time you also don't want to wait until something bad
Yeah.
happens for you to change
Well, obviously
something.
we had that with the noses, didn't we, in 2014 when they decided that they must be a lot lower and everything, and then it just
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, they obviously for 2014 they're these ridiculous noses, and we saw that it didn't really help. Like it's very
Yeah.
rare that they have a T-bone accident
I mean,
anyway.
to be
Well, I
honest, in
mean-
terms of that whole nose debate, I
Maldonado
really don't think
crashing
much has
into
changed in terms of like the whole what was it, the submarine effect of like going underneath the car, like and versus the kind of top down kind of
Yeah, well, what's
the
worse?
high
like I
nose
said-
Because sending
going
a
to the
car up
driver.
in the air is probably worse.
Maldonado crashing into Gutierrez at Bahrain 2014 springs to mind.
Yeah, like completely.
So
like,
that
Well, that
didn't
was
really-
more
that didn't
wheel.
really-
That was
I
more
did-
wheel.
yeah, but
yeah, that
still,
was yeah, but
It was sort
No,
of meant
just
to avoid that.
Thinking
but-
also about the Halo, it's kind of like okay, let's say Red Bull go, no, we don't want to do it. Like we don't fancy it.
yeah.
They've got to decide sometime soon because we've seen teams trying it out to see what airflow's like to the back of the car. Arav will know all about this.
Yeah.
Airflow to like try and cool the car, to get into the airbox, to the rear
What are
wing.
they waiting for, basically?
And obviously going down towards the diffuser as well. They need to hurry up because
Yeah.
teams like Mercedes need to develop something and then try it on their car because they could turn up to 2017 with only a couple of months of testing on it, and they could find overheating problems. They could find underperforming rear wing. Like they can always have these sort of problems. Like, I know they can test it in the wind tunnel, but until you get it out on track, but they need to hurry up.
It probably won't. It will never probably affect it to the effect of like overheating the car.
Obviously, it's not going to be a huge problem. Like, I'm not.
We're talking like maybe 1/10 or something like that, but in
obviously,
F1, 1/10 's
fine
quite a lot.
margins is huge.
It is something they have to do because obviously, I think we already saw Red Bull with their aero screen. Like they were trying to make it so it like was as smooth as possible working onto the car body because you want everything to be as smooth as possible. So obviously that is a factor. I don't think it's going to be that extreme to the extent of something overheating, but it is going to be there. That they need.
It's definitely going to affect something.
They'll want some
and
time. They will want some time to develop it.
It
so-
doesn't seem the most streamlined thing. You know, something round, like it's properly round. So it's like they're not the most streamlined thing in the world. Obviously, the front bit is the actual
It's
pylon.
it's the first design, I think.
Yeah,
within
obviously
Improve,
they can always refine it and everything, but they need to slap the sponsors on it first before
we
they
can
change
not.
anything.
Well, obviously, we're going to try and avoid rambling, but I just want to quickly say I don't really agree with the statement of the safety thing in terms of we have to do something before something happens. You could put you could fully cover the cockpit or put something on there. Something else would happen.
Yeah,
It's inevitable. So that argument to me is just the argument to me of like doing in case something else happens is irrelevant. I mean, let's be honest. When does something really happen in F1? Honestly, the last broken leg we had was in 1999.
Yeah,
like
we see drivers walking away all the time. Like I can't remember the last big accident in 2016 because my memory's appalling, but.
Just be Alonso right at the start.
Yeah, it'd have to be Alonso.
I mean, Webber survived Valencia 2010 and walked away. Like, I think that it's getting to the point where the Halo debate is sort of overlooking the fact that the racing still needs to improve. Even though the tyre strategy thing has been great, the season's been great for racing, you can still noticeably see teams struggling with dirty air. And I think once again, this is going to overshadow the whole racing debate.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
F1 likes to do that a lot.
It's the whole safety thing, though. Like the one thing that got me, because obviously I haven't been here quite a while, is obviously do you know the whole Silverstone track limits thing. Yeah. And then people, I bet the same people that go, oh, they must respect track limits, also say, oh, you should just put walls there. But then the people that said, oh, they should put walls there, probably said that Baku was unsafe because of the walls were so close. It's like you do. What are people trying to get from this? Yeah, do they want it to be competitive? Do they want it to be fair? Do they want it to be safe? You can't have all of them and please everyone. But do you get what I mean? The whole safety thing is kind of like, it's so mixed. There's such a blurry line, like we've said, that it's like, what are we trying to achieve here? Because we're not finding it. Because people who are bringing up with different arguments are then completely contradicting themselves by saying that, oh, the walls are too close, but we should put walls there to stop them from cheating.
I think the best thing you can do is just raise curbs in Silverstone's case. The curbs are too flat, so if you just raise the curbs, it would upset the balance of the car, therefore drivers would not abuse them as much.
Yeah,
but,
and then obviously we saw the Austria thing as well.
Something I want to mention quickly, just before we move into the next topic of the testing, little post-season testing of Silverstone, is the whole safety car debate, Arif, which we spoke about in the podcast after the race. Well, drivers spoke after the race, and it sort of just opened my eyes a bit. Apparently the Pirelli full wet tyre isn't really that good for, like, clearing water. So, if that's the case...
Basically, dear Pirelli, make the grooves bigger.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me, though, is... You know how they have a safety car start and everything to clear the water? Like, I know kind of unsafe in certain aspects, but obviously a car, 22 cars, or whatever, any sort of amount of cars, racing at racing speeds is going to clear a lot more water than running around at snail's pace in Formula 1 terms.
It's like Martin Brundle said at the Canadian Grand Prix, like 2011. Like, these cars are the best hoovers in the world for water.
So why are they trundling around?
Yeah.
That's the thing that got me, because obviously I barely ever said anything about the weekend or anything. But I saw Ricciardo, I saw obviously Vettel, Hamilton, they all did the certain things. Ricciardo said that the safety car was out for a good enough time, although they all dived in for inters. Like, I know different tracks are different, they've got different drainage, it's different effects. Like, Silverstone is a high-speed circuit, and crashes can happen. But that obviously that puts it down to the drivers as well. Like we saw into Turn 1, the amount of cars that went off on the slicks, going onto the dry line, even Hamilton, Verstappen, pretty much every driver at least one point went off at Turn 1. But that just shows such fine limits and fine margins that they're on. But isn't that a good thing? That it's actually a challenge for the drivers. And let's be honest, we even saw Vettel, 4-time world champion, dropping it, coming back on the track. Like, it is supposed to be a challenge. But with the whole safety car start, would that just not have... I don't know. I just don't get what they're trying to achieve with the whole, let's just trundle them around and then just soak up a little bit of water, or should we just get on with it?
Well,
because otherwise they're just going to race on the inters all the time.
I've got this... I'm very touchy with the subject, but overall, the FIA want to avoid what happened in Japan 2014. A lot of fans agree with that because they don't want to see Bianchi happen again. But in the end of the day, the way I see it, I think it happened. That's it. It's a freak accident. I think people just they worried too
brought
much.
in
I
the
think
virtual safety car.
Listen,
Brought in much more
in my
tighter
opinion,
regulations.
most of the drivers said it should have been a safety car start. Fair enough. And you could see right at the start it was terrible.
Oh, it was soaking,
but
yeah.
it didn't have to be like 5 laps. It could have been like 2 laps and then make them race. Because at the end of the day, after the race is finished, the dust has cleared, and the drivers have spoken and said the tyres aren't great at clearing the water, then fair enough. That's where the FIA have to sort of like grow a set and sort of say, right, we're going to bring the safety car in now, and also Pirelli have to like get their finger out and try and improve the tyres.
Are they not basing that off? Because whenever they're on the wet tyre, are they not under the safety car?
Yeah, pretty much.
So they're just basing it off the fact that they're trundling around. I think that's the thing.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
That's where they're getting it from. In the same way that in Monaco, they were trundling around for ages. They only had... I know Hamilton took his wet tyres a long, long way. And I thought that the track dried up pretty quickly in Monaco. And he was on wet tyres at racing speeds.
Yep.
So where is that argument coming from? Like, it's really good that Tom picked up on that, because that outlines something to Pirelli, but then it also outlines why
make the tyres better.
But it's a very, very strange thing.
Make the tyres great again.
As soon as because as soon as you see them come onto Inters, it's just so silly. Like, it's such a silly thing to look at. Like what? Like, it literally is the perfect question. Why do the wet tyres even exist then? Like, they could have just been running around on Inters slowly.
Well, that's what Perez did. He actually started on Inters.
Did he?
In
no,
the race.
no, you're not allowed to.
They're not allowed to.
You're not allowed to. You definitely did. The rules state if it's a safety car start, you have to go on wets.
All right.
He must have pit very early, though.
He just
pit
very early. He pit literally as soon as the safety car came in.
To be fair, Brundle outlined that. What made me laugh.
He started 12th, right? And then he was in 4th place once everybody pit. There was no way you ever took 8 cars in the pit stop phase, if you know what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure, because I watched
maybe
Spanish
a few
commentary.
question marks there.
I believe he started on the intermediate under safety car, and then when everybody pitted,
unless they changed the rules from like 3 years ago, I'm pretty sure the rules were you have to start.
The rules have always been like that. But what made me laugh was, I think, because Martin Brundle picked up on this, was the fact that they're trying to make it safer by doing the safety car start, and then by the end of the safety car period, we had 10 cars diving into the pit lane, making it one of the busiest pit lanes ever.
Yeah.
Such a tight pit lane, people everywhere. And fair play to the drivers, because they did very well to all the pit crew and everything. They avoided each other, and they didn't overshoot. There was no sort of problems. But, things can happen. And with 10 cars all flying in and out of pit boxes, weaving in and out of each other, slamming on brakes, applying the throttle really aggressively, someone could be hit.
Would you rather see some drivers fight out on some wet tyres, or would you rather have a pit stop madness and then maybe a car like Hungary 2010 where Kubica and I think Sutil crash in the pit lane?
Yeah.
And worst ways, you take out 5 mechanics and injure them. So
it was kind of you're making it safe here, but then ruining the safety here.
I don't think we should talk much more.
Safety talk.
It's rather annoying.
A bit more in terms of testing. Obviously, we saw a lot of test drivers take part, and one of them.
I've got the day 2 timesheet if you're interested. I mean, it's just testing, so you never know fuel limits. You never know what they're doing in terms of strategy. But Raikkonen ended up the day on top, 136, 130.6. Ocon was in the Mercedes, so that was quite cool. Gasly in the Red Bull. Mazepin in the Force India, which it was a bit debatable because a lot of people were questioning that decision because that's pretty much a money move there for
I think
Force
he's
India.
last in F3.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely shit. Van Dorn in McLaren, Bottas in the Williams. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Ferrucci in the
Sounds
Haas.
about right.
Yeah,
sounds about right.
Ferrucci
in the Haas. Palmer in the Renault. Camara in the Toro Rosso.
I've got Ara for trying to pronounce names.
I'm the worst person to pronounce. I can't do names. I do faces. I don't do names. All right. King in the Manor, and then Wehrlein was the one testing the 2014 Mercedes car, as that was the official Pirelli tyre test. Not really too much to read into it, but I did find it interesting, the fact that Ocon in the new Mercedes, the 2016 one, did a 131.2, and then Wehrlein, albeit probably on heavier fuel, weird-ass 2017 tyres for Pirelli, did a 136.1. Probably not much to read into it, but...
It wasn't 2017 tyres, it was still 2016 tyres.
It was the dimensions of the 2016, but 2017 type compound.
It was the elements in the compound. Yeah.
But, we can't wait to see what the tyre is going to look like. Obviously, we've seen it before on the
I can't wait to see, looking way into the future. I can't wait to see the first 2017 car with the whole
Yeah, it's
lower
gonna
rear
look
wing and
pretty
aggressive aero.
madness.
As much as if you think about it more in depth, it's not really that great for the whole dirty air talk we've been talking about. But it's still going to look sick.
Yeah,
it's going to look pretty cool.
People complain that the cars don't look.
Yeah,
good
it is
or
going
they
to
don't
it is
sound
going to
good or
look
anything.
hopefully pretty sick
gonna
next
look
year. Albeit there
it's-
will be quite a lot of dirty air.
It's probably a bigger change. Well, I don't know. I don't know whether you two got any sort of opinions, but it's almost like a big, not as much of a change, but it's still a pretty big change, from 2008 2009. It's quite a substantial because all we got was engines in 2014. Really, we got okay, it changed a little bit, but this is another huge aero change which we haven't seen in coming up to almost 8 years. So it's fairly.
I mean, for the first time, the front wings are going to look a bit different.
I mean, 2014 the aero did get cut down quite a lot, to be fair. But
but obviously there's more focus on the engines.
I think now, I don't know, is there anything else to talk about?
Well,
really?
I briefly looked at the tyres and teams getting advantage. Apparently, a few individuals have outlined the fact that obviously, because if anyone, you should know with the Pirelli tyre testing, obviously we've mentioned that Verline was driving the 2014 Mercedes. Obviously, it's Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari that Pirelli have asked to test the new tyres and the new compounds and using their old cars. So obviously they're not really getting much out of it because it's the old cars. But a few teams, I think Williams have been saying that they are getting a bit of an advantage for next year. And I don't think they're going to get much of an advantage. I don't know what you two think, but it does seem like they might be getting some sort of help by knowing what the tyres might be like, how they might perform. But then again, we don't really know what they're going to perform with the huge dimension changes and how much they get bigger. Yeah. But it does seem like they will be getting a slight advantage.
I think part of it is, if it was a 2017 profile tyre, then yes, it'd be a huge advantage. Yeah. But it's still 2016 profile, so there's not really much you're going to really find. Yeah. So
it's then on the flips. It's gone, Karen.
It's like one of those. It's just like one of those things. You just see different teams doing the test. And so obviously you're going to put up a bit of a fuss just to be
But then again, on the flip side, would you really want a Manor to test out the new tyres? Because it's not the best car. It's not going to push it to its limits. Whereas a Mercedes, the Red Bull, the Ferrari, three of the best cars on the grid, they're going to push it to its limits and find out what it's going to perform like. So you don't want a slightly shitty car.
Another area where it's not really black and white. Everyone's got their own opinion.
Yeah.
I think everyone should have a crack at it. I just think it's fair because everyone gets it. Then there's no excuse then.
Yeah.
But, it is how it is, I guess. But,
obviously, they're forever developing it as well, so they can't keep shipping out tons of tyres for every team to then go and change them again. So it's kind of just a bit of a waste. They may as well just keep trying it. Because I think, isn't there a test where they're doing Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari all at the same time? Sometime soon. I think it might be actually the end of the season. But obviously they keep changing between teams and they keep changing between wet and dry. But I think at the end of the season, the three teams elected are all going to have a chance to have a go at it, which will be alright because then we can see what sort of lap time changes and everything.
It'll probably be the Abu Dhabi post.
I think it will be after. Probably, I think it's they've got the first test at Abu Dhabi, then I think they're doing a second one as well afterwards to do the tyres and everything. But that pretty much wraps up testing. I don't think there's anything else apart from
for Hungary.
We're going to the Hungarian Grand Prix next week.
One of the races of last season.
Yeah. It's been a great race in the V6 era, as we've mentioned before. So it should be a tasty one, hopefully. And we have a bit of a... Oh, no, it's a bit wish-washy in terms of the actual team order, really. Obviously, Mercedes will be strong, as usual. It'll be interesting to see how much Red Bull can come back at Mercedes in a very different track to the British Grand Prix. Obviously, they fell off a little bit. Verstappen was still pretty nifty around there, but Ricciardo just wasn't really in the mood for it. So hopefully Hungary can get back into the swing of things. And in terms of Ferrari, well, I think Tom had a very interesting perspective on what they've had to say about Hungary.
Well, it's simply put, Ferrari come out this morning and said, if this race doesn't go well, which is one they won the one they won last year, then they know where they stand. So I think finally they might have just realised if we don't win at Hungary or get somewhat of a good result, we might as well not bother anymore with this season's car. So they must have heard me in the last podcast from Silverstone and decided, he's got a wise head on him, Tom.
Yeah,
so we'll listen to him.
They were like, Schumacher's cousin. Yeah, we gotta listen to him.
Got to listen to him. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, would I like to see Ferrari win? Yeah. Do I think it will happen? Probably not. I mean, to be honest, my money's on Red Bull to win at Hungary personally.
So I think Red Bull are looking very, very... Because you've got to wait up between Mercedes and Red Bull, because Mercedes... I don't know, I can't really remember Rosberg ever being amazing there. Like thinking
Well,
back to
Hamilton's
the
track.
last,
Hamilton's got brilliant
Hamilton's
record there,
always
so-
gone
Got
quite.
pace
I
there.
think he's got quite a lot of wins around there. I remember 2013, 2015. He won last year. I think he did.
He's
He
won
didn't
like
win
4 times, 5 times.
He
there.
didn't win 2014. He
That's
didn't win
better.
last year, but I know he won a lot in his McLaren era. So he has got that backbone knowledge. But he hasn't had the best run in the V6 era. But then again, 2015 was a mad race. 2014 was a mad race. So it's always been up and down.
It's time
but
for Mercedes to finally perform here at the V6 era.
I know they haven't actually performed there, have they?
Yeah, Ricciardo in 2014.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
15 Vettel.
Well,
So,
I mean, they had a 1-2 last season, but Ferrari happened to overtake him around the outside before the first corner. Didn't
Yeah,
they?
well,
and
yeah,
then,
yeah,
and
that's
then everything
what
happened.
lights
Everything
off the
happened
line, yeah.
behind
It was
Vettel.
like-
So
And then obviously the Rosberg and Hamilton into the chicane.
Exactly.
Hamilton ended up going off and all bits and
Rosberg had a
bobs
punch
there.
later
But
on, didn't he? With
I
the
think
Ricciardo
if
contact.
it's that track
so-
that if Mercedes slip up, which they've been doing all season, Red Bull, I think we could possibly see another
I've got-
win for
it's
Verstappen.
just
I've
the
got
track
Ricciardo
in general.
first
Like,
win.
it's so narrow and
Yeah.
tight and twisty in that nature of track. Like if you just like have a little tap or contact or squeeze a teammate off, just everything just goes off like fireworks behind you.
I think it's going to be tasty. This track is one of them ones. Back in the day when they used to refuel, because you can't really overtake around Hungary, it was a massive strategy track, loads of strategy
Yeah.
options. And because this is also we've got the free tyre compound, once again the magic
Oh,
logic
it's gonna
will
be very
dictate
good.
we should
Yeah.
get an even more tasty race. So we've got super softs, I believe, for the first time because we had
Super
softs and mediums
I
last
think,
year.
I think it
So
was Ferrari. I can't exactly remember
Taking the most-
actual
Ferrari's
tyre
taking the most,
allocation, but
yeah.
Ferrari brought a lot of super softs.
Yeah, they've
compared
gone
to-
very aggressive.
I think they brought.
They've gone 9.
I think it
Yeah.
might have been. Don't quote me. I think it might have been 2 more, just 1 more set of super softs compared to
They've got
Mercedes.
9, I know that.
A
It's-
lot of
it-
teams, as
I
per
can tell
usual,
you,
haven't
Ferrari
brought
have
the
gone-
hardest tyre.
Ferrari have gone 9, Mercedes have gone 8, and then I think a couple of teams have even gone 7.
Yeah.
The slower teams who are going for the longer strategy. But
Yeah.
I think the strategy element always you've got to factor that in, because it always makes it tasty. Obviously, Silverstone was a letdown because of the rain, because it basically the rain was there long enough, so when they put mediums on, they could go to the end, which was unfortunate. So it really did kill the race off. So we need hopefully a lot of tyre wear, but not too much, just enough to make it, a 3-stop
Just to
race,
give it
something
2 or
like that. Just
3
to give it.
stops, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got my money on Ricciardo. I think his first win of the season is imminent.
That's
He's had
the thing,
2 bad
balance it
races
between the Red
after
Bulls.
Austria and the Silverstone, and I think he needs just to really get his head back in the game a little bit, because you could see he was like he was on to win Spain and especially Monaco. I mean, and then since then he's sort of just
I think it's honestly
his
been
head's
like,
just gone a bit.
yeah,
you know?
it's been not like a massive situation exactly, but like you can see like mentally, it's like just hit him a little bit.
It's
after those
deflated
2.
him quite a bit.
He's lost that momentum and good feel vibe.
Well, if you think about just Red Bull in general, it's one of their strongest tracks. It suits their car the best. You've got Verstappen, who's had a very, very solid couple of races, obviously getting his win, got another podium at Silverstone. You've got Ricciardo, who got a win there. So it's looking quite good for Red Bull. It's almost like the balls in Mercedes court. What do they fancy this weekend? Do they fancy a 1-2? Do they fancy hitting each other? It's up to them,
Basically,
really.
it's like 1-2 or like have a bit of controversy.
Or do they actually want to have a bit of controversy? But
well,
it's
going
up
to
to
be
them.
either way. Even away from a Red Bull win, it's going to be interesting, obviously, because the championship then could swing in terms of Hamilton could overtake Rosberg now for the championship this race, which will be a bit of a. Well, if that happens, it'll be a bit of a signal call, I think, of that. That's over pretty much. Because honestly, I'm with
gonna
Tom.
call it.
I've been with Tom on this. I just don't think I think Rosberg's just going to bottle this and he's going to just lose it here. And he's going to.
The story of the season. Hamilton's had problems. Rosberg started strong. Hamilton's caught him up, but now Hamilton's going to take engine penalties soon. So therefore, he'll take 10 place grid penalties, maybe every 2-3 races. From about, I would say, maybe starting from about Spa Monza time when the engines really start to have a bit of performance hit.
Yeah.
And then Rosberg will obviously benefit from that, gain points on him. But then those races where Hamilton hasn't got a 10 place grid drop, he'll pull back. So it'll make it quite close towards the end,
It's going
but
to
I
be a
still
bit of a
think.
seesaw.
I think it'll be close.
Hamilton's gonna
It'll
edge
be
it.
close in the seesaw. Ultimately,
But on
though,
merit, Hamilton's done him already.
yeah.
So, done.
It's a bit of a I'm not really commenting because there's still so many races left. So I'm just like,
It's just my
obviously,
general
as
feeling.
soon as people are like saying, "Oh yeah, he's won it," I'm just like, do not say that because you know what some things can happen. But it's looking like it's in Hamilton's favour. But then you can't count out the fact that Rosberg did have a very, very strong end to last season. He obviously trying to gain that momentum back. He has had. I don't say he was unlucky at Silverstone because obviously it's kind of, I don't know how you want to weigh it up with the whole penalty because at the end of the day, it was his team that got him
His
the
team
penalty.
decided it
but
for him.
he asked how to avoid
Shift
the 7th
through a
gear,
gear.
which anyone would know, really.
Just
like,
double
obviously,
shift.
you just shift through the gear. But, in the heat of the moment, you might think, oh, no, I can't even touch 7th gear, otherwise the same thing might happen again. Same thing, the engine will stall, race over, then that's all the points gone. So I think Mercedes were happy just to take 3rd in all of that, but...
Personally, for me, I think
know.
Rosberg... See, I actually like Rosberg, like, generally. Like, even though I've sounded very down, right, just, like, literally just a minute ago about him as a driver, like, about bottling it. I actually like him as a general driver, and I don't really agree with the hate that he usually gets quite a lot on Twitter. But I just think, personally, I really hope that he just embraces that villain in him right now in F1, because I think that's the only way he can actually take the fight to Hamilton right now. He needs to be that dickhead. He needs to be that ruthless bastard that just pushes Hamilton off the track, does some dodgy shit like Senna or Prost, and I think that's the only really key way he's going to be able to beat Hamilton, because I think we've seen in the wet, Hamilton just has him on pace, and we've seen so many times this season, Hamilton's just kept his cool and been able to fight back even after all his issues, and even with a 10-second grid penalty, like, we've seen it before, Hamilton can just gain 5 positions in a lap on the start and then be right there.
Yeah, I mean, this season, if there's ever going to be a season, this one's going to be the hardest in terms of cutting through the field, because the field's the closest it's ever been in the V6 era. But I completely agree how Rosberg needs to embrace the villain within, but I just think he's so much of a nice guy, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the issue. He does seem like a bit of a goody two-shoes to actually embrace it like that.
I think, obviously, because everyone keeps arguing, and I've always lived by the one rule of never compare incidents, but obviously a lot of people like to, just because they might hate Hamilton, they might hate Rosberg, they might suck Hamilton off, they might suck Rosberg off. Depends how you want to do it. But from an unbiased standpoint, a lot of people like to compare what Rosberg does, as in... Because it's like, almost anything that Rosberg does normally ends up in something wrong. Like, just thinking about it. Like, thinking Spa 2014, Spain, it depends how you want to balance Spain 2016, because I will still stand by the fact that Rosberg was just, obviously, the pace difference was so slow that Hamilton just had to try something. And then, obviously, Austria, just driving straight into the side of him. And then anything that Hamilton does, it's normally just Rosberg being pushed off the track. And he normally gets away with it. I don't know, it's just like Hamilton just does enough dirty, but not for the FIA to care.
Basically, when Rosberg tries something like that, he takes it. He either doesn't think enough about it and doesn't execute it well enough, or is just too harsh at doing it. Whereas Hamilton is good at really riding this fine margin of... It's just good enough. But
I remember when Hamilton in 2008...
Cota last year. Hamilton ran him off the road. There wasn't contact, but he did run off the road. I thought that was a bit naughty. But,
there was a
it was just
bit
about
of contact, because he understeered just straight into him.
I just think... Yeah, I do agree. Simply because Hamilton's got a bigger following, it's just... It comes down to that at the end of the day. With Rosberg, like, for example, me, I'm fairly unbiased, because I support a team, so when like these team incidents happen, I don't really care. So I still don't get Spa 2014 and how that blew up so much. As in, I genuinely thought it was a racing incident. I still think it is. I just,
it wasn't even.
I mean, apart from like Callum's obviously a bit of a has supported Hamilton in his career, but Tom's a Ferrari fan. I'm a Jenson Button fan. I in terms of like, I know we just started talking about all this stuff like a little bit more. Like, seriously looking at all the incidents. But at the end of the day, when these incidents happen, my first gut reaction during the race is just to laugh. Just because it's like, it's happened again.
Spain 2016 was just like, oh my fucking God. This is actually
Spain was
ridiculous.
Amazing. Spain was just... And it made it even better with the Titanic.
I knew he was going to say that. I knew he was going to say the Titanic music. And Austria was just ridiculous because I generally got so fucking excited on that last lap. When I saw Hamilton with slipstream and Rosberg, I was like, holy shit. When was the last time we had a battle for the race lead
on the last
lap. Like, it's been a very long time.
And then it just happens, and you're just like, oh my god.
And then you're like, oh my god, just don't crash, don't crash. Because when was the last time they actually had a good battle? Like, and
Never.
they didn't hit.
2014 Bahrain.
It must have been Bahrain 2014, and even then they almost hit. So it's like, I'm yet to see. I can't wait to see them have actually a good battle again, because. But then people argue that Hamilton's dirty enough,
I'm just looking forward to whatever they do, even if they crash again.
I genuinely do not think they're going to ever have a good battle again. I don't think they can. I don't think it's happened.
Because I think if Hamilton's behind, or if he's just defending, I think Hamilton would just end up pushing him off the track. Canada, COTA. No, to be fair, anytime ever just pushes him off, it's just like bye. I need to drive off into the distance.
Goodbye, you pathetic.
And then anything that Rosberg kind of tries, I think he has done it once or twice. Where, like, if you remember Australia 2016, when Hamilton literally just got fucked over by the fact that he was squeezed to fuck, and then he dropped down the field. So maybe you can argue that Rosberg did do enough to fuck up his teammate. But then again, Rosberg didn't help himself, because I swear he got overtook or something like that. But I don't know. We're yet to see if that's going to be some sort of good battle. We're going to Hungary, where I doubt there's going to be much overtaking, although there has been quite a bit if there's a bit of rain. But we yet
Don't
to
say
see
that.
the
There's
weather
going to be a
forecast.
safety car start.
No, I don't even want rain.
If it starts
Last year
if it starts
was good.
dry, then goes to wet.
Okay, that'll be fair enough. That'll be good.
They'll just bring out the safety car anyway because it's too wet.
Yeah, there's a spot of rain over there. Safety car.
Holy shit! No, go into the pits.
They'll red flag it. What I'm saying is last year's race was fine in the dry. I think we'll be alright. I genuinely think Hungary's one of those tracks where the strategy is going to be massive.
Makes it crazy enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask one thing? Because you might have talked about this before. Just one quick thought. The safety car in the race, when they go into the pit lane, they drag the cars to the pit lane because there's some sort of incident at turn 1, so they can't go through there because it's unsafe because Marshall's on track. How come so many drivers keep getting penalties for speeding in the pit lane when they're going around at slow speed?
Because if it's in the wet...
How can they forget?
Because if it's in the wet, they probably can't see the freaking speed limiter line.
But they're trundling around anyway, and there's 10. They can have 10 car lengths. I don't know. It's just something that's got me recently because we've seen quite a bit.
They could just technically put the pit lane limiter on as they enter that actual pit lane.
They could go around the entire track on the pit limiter. I don't know. It's just almost like it seems very petty to pick up a penalty like that.
Yeah, it's FIA. They don't give a shit about petty. They're just like, penalty.
I just don't.
Done.
I understand that they're breaking the law, but I don't think they should be penalised anyway. Because how the fuck are you going to get an advantage?
They're breaking the law of F1.
The Rosses will be on you, mate. You fucking better the pit lane.
And Bernie will be in his little car, in his little toy car, running after you. To be fair, I don't know. It's just something that's got me recently that drivers keep picking up these silly little penalties, and it's just like, what? Why? And I thought we've seen even the better drivers. Like we saw Vettel getting penalty for just completely twatting Massa off the road. I love that. He just could not get the. I don't know what Tom thinks about that, but I thought that was a penalty.
Well,
because he did go off the track in order to gain the position.
Silverstone wasn't the best race, and I was eating my food at that time, so I missed the incident. I watched it back, and he finished.
Massa was pushed out of the track.
He finished
was pushed
ninth.
to Northampton.
I don't really care.
I love Massa. Massa's adorable in the car because the things he says, he pushes me not off the track, out of the track. He's no longer a part of the track anymore, which got me. But
this is unacceptable, FIA.
This is unacceptable. No, this is not right. I will stand by. I am gonna serve the penalty, but this is not right. I'm gonna get my son on you.
And then you got to go with the hand wave while you go down the pit lane, fuck you.
Just getting all pissed off. But I don't know. I'm just seeing a lot of drivers getting silly penalties now, and it's 2016.
I'm looking forward to Hungary. I'm looking forward to those team radios where it's like, F you, F that guy, push me off.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be great.
Have we had a race that hasn't had swearing?
Silverstone. I don't think we had one, did we?
Yeah, I don't
think we had one. The drivers were when they came to the UK.
I swear, Raikkonen swore at one point because I swear didn't he get pissed off about blue flags?
To be fair, we don't get radios that much anymore, which is sort of bait.
Team radios are a bit shit right now.
Anyway,
yeah, I think that's been enough about Hungary. We didn't really talk about other teams, but I really honestly don't have much of a clue because
we don't really know because the midfield's so mixed up.
It's so mixed up. It's actually good that it's so mixed up. So we'll see. I mean, obviously you got to think maybe Force India will hopefully be strong again. I'm hoping McLaren can be there again.
I'm hoping
obviously McLaren came away with their best position last year in 5th place with Alonso for the first time in that season. So I'm hoping for another crazy race where maybe Alonso or Button can get right up there. You got to say Williams. They'll be hoping they can try and stay ahead of McLaren, but I really hope actually McLaren can get them this weekend for pace. In terms
Williams
of
will
McLaren-
struggle around Hungary.
I think
because it's
McLaren are
downforce
going to
track.
walk over Williams. I think Williams are going to be like behind even Haas, Renault even, because Renault might be alright.
Williams
around.
will struggle,
I think
like
that's a
they
bit
always
too. I
do.
think that's a bit. That's a bit. They're not going to be behind Renault, Tom.
Renault are back.
Yeah, it's not a
but
power track though. They should be okay.
This,
They'll be better.
then again, they
Their
haven't really
aero's still
downforce on
dog
the.
shite.
Yeah, they haven't really
You
got
got
any aero on them.
We'll see how Haas goes. If it is a crazy race, could be another one for Grosjean to get some good points. Obviously, unfortunate for him. I think it was. I still can't remember what it was. I think it was an ECU failure or something like that, or something like that. Just like a.
Yeah, they're a
So-
power
and again,
car though,
don't
apparently in the
discount
race.
Gutierrez because I
in
think he's
Silverstone.
been performing very well this season so far. So
Apparently
you could see him
Haas
sneaking to the points.
had a power cut in their garage for 10 laps or something in Silverstone
Really? Oh,
for
shit.
the race.
Oh wow! Okay.
They blacked out, so they couldn't have nothing. There was just nothing for 10
right.
laps. So
It's quite strange.
A bit weird.
10
But
laps
yeah.
for 10 minutes. I'm not sure, but
The midfield
Yeah.
should be very nice and spicy. If it is another crazy race like we've seen in the past 2 years, midfield should be all over the place in terms of position changes and penalties, I'm guessing, and whatnot. But I think that's been it pretty much for the Hungarian Grand Prix. We can't really talk too much else. We talked quite a lot about other stuff, including the Mercedes thing, which I'm sure will make the comments very interesting.
AIDS.
So we'll see you guys next time. If you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. Always appreciated. It was great to see a lot of support on the last podcast, so that was really awesome. So thank you guys for that. Let us know what you thought in the comments below of anything we talked about today. If you're new around here, then subscribe to this channel for the podcast. As ever, check out these guys on Twitter, as Tom is saying right now. Twitter, up below our heads, and we will see you guys next
Up
time
below.
for the
Same.
what? Yeah.
Up below.
Up below. Up below. Yeah. In the podcast.
End of podcast,
At the
always
end,
go
at
to
the end of the
shit.
podcast, we just give up. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. It'll be the Hungarian Grand Prix review. We'll see you then. I hit my mic. Whoops. Goodbye.
You're actually like such a retard. Like, why can we
What is
never
it?
finish a
the
podcast?
End of the pod, like, we get to like that 1 minute at the end of the podcast, and it all goes to shit.
It just goes
Yeah.
to AIDS.
yeah,
Like, I actually heard that. Like, that was a solid noise. Good job.
solid bonk.
Fucking hell.
Goodbye.